All right, I have the legend. I don't even know what to say about this man. What he does for children is just out of this world. Not, I've never really seen him lose his shit yet, but his kids always are staring at him. Oh, wait, we have our first surprise. Oh, we have a surprise. Let's bring in the surprise. Here he comes. Mr. Mraz.
Right.
How's it going, guys?
What's up,
Well,
Chris?
we
How are
just
you guys? I currently have my class in the background, and it's funny that we got two great guys. Obviously, Coach Monroe, one of the best coaches in the Chicagoland area, and Coach Bailey. I was telling the students about you and how we've been doing a lesson on leadership, and I have all the students listening on the Zoom right now, and I can't thank you enough, Coach, of all the stuff that you helped me get through, and like just thinking back, I'm so grateful. I'm 41 now, and I every day I still think about some of the stuff that you helped me get through and helped me as a player and off the floor, and I'm extremely thankful. And I just thought, like, as our class is behind me, that we could tie it in, and I'm sure Matt, even as coaches, like when we were over there, like it was an amazing thing,
Well,
and I'm truly
that's nice,
thankful.
Chris. Thank you. That's nice for you to say that. I appreciate it, especially coming from you and your family, just great people at St. Pat's. And hey, class, this is one of the all-time great players at St. Patrick High School. Okay, he could guard like nobody's business. He's in the St. Pat's Hall of Fame as a player, but I think most importantly, he's a St. Pat's Hall of Fame person. Okay, and
Mm.
couldn't tell you how proud I am of him and everything he did for us at St. Pat's and what he's doing right now. So thanks, Chris. Thanks for jumping on. Appreciate
I
it.
appreciate it. I hope you guys have a wonderful podcast, and we have
Wait, Chris,
class.
you can't go yet.
I,
I'm very upset with you.
you're upset?
You said we're here with two great guys. How about
Well,
me?
you're
How about me?
obviously great because you're doing the podcast, and you coach yourself. I didn't want to leave. You know, we talked the other night and it was awesome, but Coach Monroe and
Of
Coach
course.
Bailey, I'm sure your teams are going to be unbelievable this year as usual. Yeah, if I do have one question for you guys, all of you, you guys all have coached, and we're talking about leadership within the room. Do you guys think, just for the room's sake, what would you guys describe like leadership from yourself?
Bailey, go first.
I think the best leadership that you give is leadership by example. I think it's one thing to get up in front of a team or a class or whatever and be able to tell them what to do. But I think the key to leadership is modeling leadership. So, for example, you want to, if you're going to be a leader and you want to have the group follow you, you can't be a person around school or a teacher at a school who just kind of mails it in. I don't think you could turn it on and off like that. I think if you're going to be a leader, there comes a lot of responsibility with it, and you have to be able to model that leadership. So, like, we'll talk to our players here a little bit. And, Coach, I want to be a leader. Coach, I want to be a leader. But you're screwing around in school all the time. I don't think guys are going to follow you that way, right? I think as a coach, like, if I always think your best coaches are some of your best teachers in your school. All right, I don't think you could be a really good coach and just be a mediocre mail-it-in teacher right there. Because I think the best leadership is when you model leadership for your team, for your class, for your school, whatever it might be. Does that make sense, Chris?
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously second that. A lot of what I've learned from leadership has kind of been from watching Coach Bailey, not just hearing what he says, but watching what he does. I would also say being a leader isn't necessarily what you do, it's who you are. I think it's important to be a leader that is someone that wants to be transformational instead of transactional, someone that wants to serve others, invest in others, and help lift each other up to achieve their maximum potential. And so I think oftentimes, you know, when people think about leadership, they love the role, but they don't always love the responsibility. And I think the responsibility is, like Coach Bailey said, you know, to model effective leadership, but also to genuinely care for those that you are leading and have their best interests in mind no matter what you do.
So I have a completely different answer, and this is going to make some of you guys cry. A great leader, let me start off. Every child comes to school or practice with two backpacks, their personal and then their business one. Great leaders daily check the personal one. That personal one has family problems, financial problems, right? Just everything that we don't see going on in the kid's life. And I think effective leaders, great leaders, always check the second backpack. And then I will piggyback onto that. There's a quote that's always in all my emails. Kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I live by that. And when I take my son to different sporting, you know, teams, that's one thing I look for in the coaches. Last, and Coach Bailey, I think, will agree, and Matt, recognizing when a kid gets a haircut. That is, it sounds funny, but when a child is recognized like that, man, it feels good for them.
Yeah, yeah, well said, Aaron. Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron, I would agree with you, especially on checking both backpacks. I remember when I was a student, I didn't do well my freshman and sophomore year, and I think a lot of teachers chalked it up to laziness or like I didn't care, but they didn't check that second backpack of mine. Is because we were going through a ton of family issues, and I had different focuses. And it wasn't until my math teacher, Mr. Summy, tried to dig a little deeper and ask me like what was going on, that I truly felt connection and someone that actually cared for me. So you're 100% right about both backpacks.
Yeah, I'm such as coaches, we're so about game planning and scouting, but sometimes even the great ones, we forget that without the kids' backpacks in order, it doesn't matter, man. Oh, I got one more surprise. Just jumped on. I have another surprise. Here he comes. Coach Bailey, you're going to love me after this. Who do we got joining us? Let's see. Come on. Probably has low internet at his school. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Well, it's Sergio, but I don't know why he can't get on.
Yeah, good guys. All those guys, Serge and Matt and Chris. I mean, just you know, one of our guys here at St. Pat's did a podcast. Aaron, I think you probably listened to it, where he interviewed all of the former assistants from St. Pat's, and just hearing those guys' stories about how they came to St. Pat's was brought back so many great memories.
I still remember it
Sergio.
like it's. I don't mean to interrupt or whatever, Coach. I don't know if you remember the meeting that we had in the library, the old school library at St. Pat's.
Right up in the balcony,
Sitting
right?
sitting down with my mom and dad, and you know, you just had everything mapped out, like not just basketball wise, but just like, okay, here's what we're gonna do, and just be structured about your day, you know, and like you know, I'm trying to along with the other teachers that are in the room right now, with the students that we have, we try to talk about that as much as possible, and you know, everything you kind of taught me, I'm trying to carry it on.
Well, good.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get off here. I don't mean. I just want to say hello. Hope all you guys are doing well. See you guys soon. Aaron, thank you for this. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Means a lot stopping in. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great seeing you, Chris.
See ya, Matt. Take care. Serge, what's up, man?
What's up, guys?
Serge,
You guys
can you
hear
hear me? Serge, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you have really bad internet at that CSL.
All right, hold on. Yeah.
You need to go back to St. Pat's where, you know, they have that premium internet. There you go. Serge, I want to start with you. Give me an inspirational Bailey story on how he changed your life.
Yeah, man. I think it's got to be the first practice that I ever coached at St. Pat's. I remember it very, very vividly. Um, Man, I was brought in as the freshman B coach, and we practiced after school with Dave Crane, a history teacher there. And you know, as the freshman in that bag gym was going on, Matt was coaching the sophomores in the main gym and varsity. And varsity was you know, had a late practice that day, and you know, the model or like just the culture of it, like, hey, if you're the freshman coach, you got to coach the freshman, and then you got to come and wait for the varsity practice and coach the varsity practice. So I remember vividly, man, my first day of practice with a freshman B and Coach Crane, man. Coach Crane was just like a really great teacher of history and a great teacher of just like getting down to the T of how to run Patino passing drills, right? Like just to the T. So for me, it was kind of just like, whoa, like going through every little detail in that freshman practice. So, you know, long 2 hour freshman practice, varsity practice comes, and I'm kind of just like staying there on the sidelines, kind of like, you know, kind of like, all right, you know, what's going to go on here, you know, and all of a sudden I hear, MURO, get the pads. I think for about an hour. I think for about an hour, I spent the whole hour on the pads. Every drill, just he wanted me to hit everybody with the pads for an hour. I mean, every drill. And then if he felt like I was like not hitting him hard enough, he would like give me some shit. Like I thought that made him tougher at Maine East, you know. You know, so like, dude, I was on the pads for like about maybe I might have been on the pads for the whole 2 hours, to be honest with you. Um, you know, so like I just remember that day, just like, man, that was a long day, and just getting on that pads and just hitting guys with the pad, and I was like, whoa, this is unbelievable. I was exhausted after that day, and it was
And
only day one.
we probably went out and had a Diet Coke afterwards. So to replenish you a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, that's what it was, man. I think, you know, obviously, Coach Bailey and Coach Monroe, they have a lot of specialties, but I think the one thing that sticks out, man, was kind of just like, you know, he lets you find your niche. Like you create your niche, you know. Figure it out, Serge. You know, get in there and just coach. You know, and there was never no ego, and there was never no like, you know, there was never no ego. He gave me a big voice. He gave me a big voice in the program, and kind of took off with it. And I learned a lot of on the court stuff, man, on there, man. So I'm very lucky to, you know, I'm very lucky to be really, really well mentored, you know, from my playing days from Coach Olsen to my coaching days with Coach Olsen and Coach Bailey and Matt. I spent 5 years with Matt at St. Pat's, you know. So I've been really well mentored. So there's no excuses for me to have any screw ups, man. I've been really well mentored.
You know, we're in the
Coach Bailey, hold on. They do make us freaking tough at Maine East. I graduated from there. We were terrible at hoops and baseball, but we could wrestle.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, Aaron, this Mike Bailey coaching tree thing, you know, it gets a lot of publicity. I think rightfully so because of those guys. But really, the coaching tree started at Weber High School with Jim Harrington. All right, and Jim was a longtime head coach at Elgin, Hall of Fame coach Weber at Elgin, and some great teams. And you know, he put together a staff of myself, John Bonk, Al Biancalana. We had other guys, Al Albert, Paul Majori, all these guys. And my point I'm leading to is Jim really kind of showed the way to us on how to put a staff together, you know, and how to give those guys, hey, here's our program. This is what we do. We're not deviating from it necessarily. Okay. But everybody has a voice in what that program is. And so I think I always like to kind of recognize Jim a little bit. because again, this Mike Bailey tree of coaching, which I'm so proud of all these guys, but it really kind of started with Jim Harrington and the way he put his staff together when I was with him at Weber. He kind of showed me the way to do that.
Well, I want to tell you, I tried to get Harrington on, but he's planning a banquet for like 300 or 400 people.
Yeah, he's at this Elgin Sports Hall of Fame. He heads up the
Yes.
whole banquet. It's a big thing. So he goes incognito. I tell you what, though, as soon as that's done, I think it's this weekend, he hops over here to St. Pat's, and he probably is at I'd say about a good half of our games, and he stops by practice, and I think he stops by some of these other guys' games too when he gets a chance. So yeah, he's just hey, watch, like Mike Bailey's mentored these guys. These guys, all my assistants have mentored me more than I mentored them, to be honest with you. But there's nobody I turn to more than Jim Harrington when it comes to life decisions, basketball decisions, career decisions. He's the first in my. I'll date myself a little bit. He's first in my Rolodex that I pick up and call. So
I texted him, but he was busy. I tried,
yeah,
Coach. I
yeah.
really tried. Matt, give me a good inspirational Bailey story. And can we get like a little bit more gritty? Can we not be so gung-ho happy, Sergio? Like, listen, man, this is the Catholic League, brother.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, mine is mostly happy as well. But what Coach Bailey was saying, like we I don't know how much we've mentored him. I think the only thing I mentored him on was how to return a text message. But besides that, it's a one-way street. We learned a lot from him. But I have two stories. I don't know if they're gritty or not, but I think it's just the truth and kind of what Coach Bailey means to all of us. So this one's a little bit long. It'll shock you, Aaron, that I have a long story to tell. But when I was 24 years old, I was coaching at Vernon Hills High School, and I was teaching middle school.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I coached there for 2 years. I was teaching at Wakanda, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. And I really wanted to get into high school coaching, and I wanted to be a head coach, and I wanted it to happen quickly. So, when I was at DePaul as a student, I was a manager at the men's basketball program. And one of my best friends, Coach Bailey's son, Brandon, was a manager for Doug Bruno. And so we became really close. And right around this time, I'm 24 years old, and I applied to be a head coach of some schools. And I actually get an interview at a school called Riverdale High School in Port Byron, Illinois. But at the same time, I was talking with Coach Bailey about maybe becoming his assistant. But he didn't know if he would have any openings. Tim Trendle, who's at Providence right now, he ended up interviewing for a job around that time. Gene Heidkamp was interviewing at Bennett. And Coach Bailey didn't know what the job situation would be. So I go to Riverdale High School in Port Byron, Illinois, right on the, banks of the Mississippi River. They had 5.
I was going to say, where the hell is that?
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never even heard of
Like
that.
I was driving and I almost got run off the road by a flying turkey that just sprinted across the highway. It was wild. But I interviewed there, and I called Coach Bailey on my way back. I'm like, man, I think that this job is going to be offered to me. I think I did well. What's up with St. Pat's? And Coach says, well, I don't know. Trendle, I think, is staying. I don't know what's up with Heidkamp at Bennett. I'm not really sure. You should take this job. And so it was like a Friday, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, I could be a head coach at age 24, but like, I want to learn from the best. I need a mentor. I want to be a part of a program with a lot of history and tradition. So I'll never forget that Monday morning, the following Monday, they call me and they offer me the job to be a head coach at 24 years old in Port Byron, Illinois. And I asked them if I could have a day because, it's a big situation. I had to move and stuff like that. So I remember I called Coach Bailey right away, and Coach says, take the job. I don't know what's happening with Heidkamp. I'm not sure. I wish I knew, but I don't want you to lose an opportunity. And so I slept on it. And that Tuesday morning, I called them and I declined the job because I wanted to see it out with St. Pat's. And literally an hour later, the old Your Season Sometimes website for high school sports posted that Heidkamp got hired at Bennett. So I called Coach Bailey right away. He's like, I can't guarantee you got to go through the interview process. And I did. And I remember meeting with him at Buffalo Wild Wings. He had a Diet Coke and I probably had some sort of juice. And he asked me a bunch of questions about me and about what I was looking for. And none of them had anything to do with X's and O's or basketball knowledge or what I could teach. They were more character questions like, are you willing to put in the extra time? Are there any jobs that are too big or too small for you? What's your work ethic like? Are you loyal? And so I remember when we closed, he said, listen, I can teach you basketball, but I need people that are going to fulfill those values and those skills and have those intangibles. And so that's something that always stuck with me. Another thing that stuck with me was, I think that first year we went to an IBCA coaching clinic together. It was one of those satellite clinics at Maine South. And I remember sitting next to Coach Bailey. I had my brand new St. Pat's, sweater on. I'm super excited to show it off. And I remember sitting there next to Coach Bailey, who even at that time, 18 years ago, was a legend in coaching and one of the smartest basketball minds I've ever met. And I'm sitting there next to him, and I see him. He's scribbling tons of notes in his notepad and that hard to read handwriting that he's got. And I'm looking around, and I see a lot of younger coaches there. They're not taking notes. They're just talking. They're hardly paying attention. And here I am sitting next to this guy that probably knows everything there is to know about basketball, and he's still learning. And that made a big impression on me, being a lifelong learner. And I'll tell you, I've been at St. Ignatius for 10 years now. I was with Coach Bailey for 8, and Serge and Chris and all those guys. They've made such an incredible impression on me, certainly as a coach, but more so just as a person. And a lot of the lessons that I learned from Coach Bailey and from working with those guys, they stick with me to this day. And I try to teach those lessons to then our kids too.
Man, do you want to tell Aaron and maybe refresh Serge's memory, your very first summer league game at St. Pat's?
Oh yeah. So you want a little gritty story, Aaron? Here's a good one. So we were hosting a summer league at St. Pat's. It was like a shootout, maybe that first weekend or June, whatever we were able to play. And I remember sitting there, and actually St. Pat's was playing St. Ignatius. It must have been the shootout championship or something like that. I'm sitting right behind Coach Bailey, and a fight breaks out. Like, bench is clear. One of our guys has one of their kids by the shirt. Huge fight. And Coach Bailey turns around to me in the calmest tone whatsoever, and he goes, "Welcome to St. Pat's." I'll never forget that type of tone.
That's awesome.
Welcome to St. Pat's basketball. Another thing, Aaron, that goes along with Matt's being hired here at St. Pat's. He mentioned he was one of the basketball managers at DePaul for the men's side, and my son and daughter were on the women's side with Doug Rudo. So to make a long story short, my son and daughter just love Matt. Okay, and they would tell me when I said, "Well, Matt's going to interview." My son went to St. Patrick High School. Okay. So when and my daughter grew up around St. Patrick High School, they're just St. Pat's people, right?
Yep.
So my point I'm leading to is Matt. Once they found out that Matt was going to sit down and talk with me about coming to St. Pat's as a coach and a teacher, before I left to meet him, they both came to my house and they were like, "Dad, this is the guy. This is the guy." I said, "Well, I know Matt a little bit. Let me talk to him. I have some questions." Dad, I'm just telling you, both of them were. This is the guy for St. Pat's that you got to hire. So Matt and I go and talk and all that. And when I came back home, they were still there waiting for me about 3 hours. And how'd it go? What happened? Well, it was a great interview. We did well, but I got to think, there's nothing to think about. You hire this guy today. So that's kind of the relationship Matt's had with our family and all that. And Serge is like, you talk to my wife, Carol Bailey, and she loves all these assistants. Okay. But Serge is one of her all-time favorites. Okay, she's always asking, like we played in the same summer league or same fall league, and she would get there a little bit early sometimes just to kind of see Serge's team play a little bit. I could remember, I think Serge's first year, she 2 or 3 times she grabbed me and says, Christmas tournament game, we're done. Let's go over and watch Serge play. So I think the relationship that she's had with all of our assistant coaches, it's kind of made it a family type atmosphere. And she's certainly one of his all-time favorites right there. So yeah, good memories, Aaron. Thanks for doing all that. I could go on and on about how we hired all these guys and the relationship with all these guys. So super.
Yeah, Coach, I'm gonna head out. Coach, thanks for getting me on here, Coach London. I gotta head out. Some public school guys gotta work here a little bit. So
I work in CPS. Shh.
Yeah.
Serge, you're the man.
Have a good one.
See you, buddy.
Thanks.
All right.
Have a good one, guys. And Aaron, take it easy on my guys, right, man?
No.
All right. See ya.
All right, bro. All right, Monroe and Bailey. I'm at a crossroad right now. I've spent the morning being a little crazy ranking the high school coaches in the area. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, I have not touched the Catholic League yet because I'm scared of you guys. I do not want to end in the trunk of Coach Les's car somewhere, wherever he is still. Who do you think, Bailey? Give me your ranking of all-time Catholic League coaches. I'm a Catholic League fan. So
You saying current coaches or going back in my heyday?
yeah, let's go current. Let's go current.
Yeah, I mean, watch it. Because we play these guys so often, I would say I just love the job that Tommy Livitano does. Okay. Up at my
Gave me my first job.
yeah, they're tough, they're physical, they're fundamental. You know what you're gonna get from them, and they just kind of go and execute, I think Tommy Kleinschmidt has a great switching system of playing switching man-to-man defense. He's able to switch basically 1 through 5 or 1 through 4, and you have to prepare a little bit differently for them in the way that they guard you, in the way that they switch. All right. Obviously, Gene Heitkamp, I think, is top notch with his motion offense game, his pack line defense game. And again, just how fundamental those guys are at Bennett. So those guys jump out at me. The guy at Ignatius isn't too bad. I kind of like him. I think he kind of knows what he's doing. I don't. Here's the thing, Aaron. I think my record against my former assistants is like 5-20. Okay, those guys, I do pretty well against everybody else. It's my assistants that I can't beat. And I'll tell you, with our 31 defense, I don't know if anybody's attacked our 31 defense. There's been a few schools that have attacked it well, but Matt has attacked our 31 defense as well as anybody's ever attacked it. So I watch. There's so many guys you could name, but just those guys, probably because I see those guys a lot, being Northsiders and all that, watch their teams play a lot. Those guys jump out at me.
What?
Mr. Monroe.
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I think between the Catholic League and the East Suburban, and with our conferences combining in the near future, I think it's a who's who of top high school basketball coaches in the state. A lot of the guys that Coach Bailey mentioned, I would totally agree with. Obviously, Coach Heidkamp at Bennett does an awesome job. Tom Livitino at Loyola, Kleinschmidt at DePaul. Obviously, Coach Bailey, I think, is the dean of the Catholic school coaches and does such an incredible job. But I also think when I think about that question, I think oftentimes it's easy to say like, well, this program won state and this program is in the top 25 every year. And those coaches obviously are amazing, and there's no accident why they're there. But I also think there's a lot of coaches within our league and across the state that do awesome jobs, and maybe they get more with less. And so I think, as I reflect on, some of those top coaches, it's not always tied to wins and losses. It's more so tied to the impact that they make. I know like Tim Trendle at Providence, he mentors his kids. He's there for them all the time. He works his tail off. And David Ferguson at Fenwick does, an incredible job working with those kids. Joe Picar's at Marmion. A lot of those programs have one big too. And I think, you could really name just about any coach in both of our leagues, and you'd be talking about an all-star coach and an all-star person.
Here's a compliment to all of you, and disagree, and it's okay to disagree with me. I think the Chicago Catholic League is one of, if not the top conference in the country. And I'm going to exclude, we're not going to talk about the prep schools because that's a whole different animal. But I mean, when it comes to coaches, I don't know how the hell I would coach in that conference. I mean, I would be scouting religiously over and over and over, and I wouldn't be confident.
Yeah, Aaron, I think always the way that I've always looked at it was, even with if a coach's team of a school, maybe they're having a little bit of a down year. But I think what's true in the ESCC and the Catholic League is, in most of those programs, because of the coach, okay, even if that school is having a little bit of a down year, when you go on the road, okay, you better be ready. Okay, because the coach is just it's just gonna take over. Whoever that could be one of 15 different coaches, that I'm talking about. So, a lot of times you would say, okay, at home we'll be okay because our talent's just gonna take over. We're just a little bit more talented than that team. But boy, when we go on the road, this coach I know is gonna have his team ready to play. So I think that's in both the ESCC and the Catholic League. I think that that rings true all the time.
Yeah, I agree. There's no easy game, especially in the Catholic League Blue, but I think it extends across the entire league. I mean, on a Tuesday, you're going to have to play, against Rashawn Russell at St. Lawrence, who does an awesome job there. And then on a Friday, you might play Jabel Ridley at Leo. I mean, that place is really hard to win at. Then Tuesday, you got DePaul Prep, and Friday, Loyola. And then the next week, Rick Ramelli at, Brother Rice, and so on. It's something where you got to be on your game all the time. You can't take a game plan off or a game off or think that you're going to walk in and just be handed the game, because everybody's out to get you and everybody does a great job preparing their teams. And it's fun because, you have to raise your game. It's stressful because, again, there's no easy nights, but I think, a rising tide lifts all ships. And I think when you play against so many great programs, like Coach Beta said, even if a program's having an off year, I mean, they're still incredible. And it causes you to continue to try to evolve and be the best version of yourself for your players.
I have a good question. I have a really good question. I'm going to start with Matt. Matt, you're playing Bailey. What's the scout?
That is a good question. A fun fact about Coach Bailey, and I was telling him this, I think we were talking ahead of like when they're preparing to go downstate this year. I don't know another coach that has played in a super sectional, won a sectional, that has played 3 different defenses as their primary defense. When he went down, I think it was 2001, coach, against Lions, they were strictly man-to-man. When it was, I think 2015, when I was your assistant, we played 2-3 zone most of that year. And then obviously going downstate, 2 other super sectional appearances, but going downstate this year running 1-3-1, that's a pretty crazy accomplishment. And I think, so the reason I say that is because it kind of depends on the year, but I would say if we were to play them this year, the first thing is they run a very unique defense, and it's not a gimmick. It's not just, well, we're going to run this, you might not be prepared. Like, they run it to the best of their ability. They run it better than anyone. They don't just run a 1-3-1. They have different, matchups and tweaks and adjustments and game plans within it that makes it really hard to prepare for. Obviously, they got great length to do it, but the kids know where to go, and they're empowered to make reads on defense. And certainly, I think they're extremely hard to score against. Offensively, super creative, high-level advanced concepts, skilled players. They all can shoot. They get into the paint. They have great shot selection. They're disciplined, but they also play free. And I know a lot of players are looking for that in today's game. But most importantly, from an X's and O's standpoint, they're going to have you down pat. There's not going to be a single action, a single play. There's not going to be a single, player on your team that they don't know front and back. And so you got to kind of understand going into this game, nothing's going to be given to you, and you're not going to be able to sneak away any buckets. You're going to have to earn every single play. But most importantly, they're going to play tough, hard-nosed. They're going to be the first on the floor for loose balls. They're going to crash that glass and pursue the rebound. They're going to fight through any contact. They are extremely well coached. They're disciplined. They're tough. They're competitive. And they certainly have a very high level in terms of a will to win.
All right, Coach, it's your turn.
Okay, well, God, I hope we approach some of those things that Matt talked about right there. That's nice of him to say that. But I would say this, with our 31 defense, like I mentioned a little bit before, I don't know if anybody has attacked it as well as Matt has in a few times that we played each other. There's always gonna, I think one of the beauties of the 31 defense is there's only a certain amount of things you could do against it. All right. But when you play against Matt, there's always going to be 2 or 3 wrinkles that we haven't seen before from other teams. All right. So we have to really dig deep into scouting and things like that to see if we can find out what those wrinkles are. And even when we do that, he's got something up his sleeve to attack our defense that we really haven't seen from other teams. I think the other thing is that I think we're pretty into analytics over here for a high school team. I think they're very analytical over there. All right. He'll know the tendencies of players on the other teams, as well as the coach of that team. All right. And then I think the other thing that I've always enjoyed when I watch Matt's teams play is the passion they play with and the togetherness they play with. You know, we faced each other in the super sectional, whatever year it was, Matt, and I think he had 2 or 3 Division I or high level college players playing on this team. But seeing the way that those guys all played together, which is hard to do in high school when you get those talented players like that play on the same team, the way that they played together, I think was the key to that team. I don't think the key to that team for Matt, and from afar, looking from afar, was anything he did X and O wise necessarily, as much as the way that he got those guys, the Barrett's, the Kostekis, those guys to kind of play together. I think that's the key that makes him a really good coach.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Now, when I take a coaching job, I can beat you two.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to keep you off the schedule.
Aaron, now that we've done this podcast together, you would just join the merry the merry clan of my assistant coaches that comes and beats my ass. So don't worry about that.
I would have a problem being your assistant in a different way. Are you ready?
Sure.
You would get annoyed with me because I'd be such a fan.
Yeah, okay.
You would get so annoyed with me because I would be just such a junkie.
Yeah.
And like you yelled at me as your assistant, I would be like, yes, yes, yes. Like I love that stuff. Yeah, man. I mean, you're such a legend, but you're a legend of children, not just the game, right? I'm friends with EJ Braylon's dad. And I mean, he's crazy. I mean, I think I'm crazy, but Mr. Braylon's nuts. And he loves you. I mean, loves you. And when we talk,
I think sometimes EJ played for 4 years. Okay, he was on the varsity team since his freshman year. And I think it's something that's a little unique. We haven't had it too often, but probably lately we've had a few more guys play like Sam Maniscalco, all right? He played sophomore ball as a freshman. He played for us for 3 years on the varsity team. The point I'm leading to is, 4 years, when you stop and look at it, how many guys actually play at the same school in college for 4 years? They're all transferring. You play for a different, or what, the coach is fired or the coach leaves or whatever. I think in the NBA, how many guys actually play for their own team or they play for the same coach for 4 straight years? So I think, sometimes what happens is you're coaching this kid for 4 years and you go through a lot together, ups and downs. And to be honest with you, I don't think sometimes it's easy for a kid to play for the same coach for 4 years. That message just kind of gets tuned out a little bit at times, or sometimes, how do I keep motivating this kid? Find a way to motivate this kid. I've done it for 4 years now. So it's, but I tell you, EJ and his family, his mom and dad were just, as supportive as you could be. And what a great career that kid had at St. Pat's. And we missed the mom and dad already. We miss EJ for sure. Okay. But, we just missed the mom and dad already.
EJ and his family made such a mature college decision. It is absolutely mind-boggling to me how awesome of a decision he made.
Yes.
He picked a D2 school that he knew he would get playing time, he could develop, and if he wants, he can eventually transfer up. But I mean, such a mature decision, opposed to some of these other kids. I don't want to mention names because they played for me and they know how I feel. But
yeah, we were, I think he committed right around this time last year. And early in the season, late in the preseason and all that. And, we were a little concerned because, man, I mean, this kid has poured his heart and soul into our basketball program. He works at it. 5 years ago, 7 years ago, he's a surefire Division I player somewhere. But in the landscape of college basketball now, boy, I just don't know what's going to happen here. And dad came in here and just kind of, he almost walked us through exactly what they were looking for. And Pittsburgh State, a school like Pittsburgh State, was what they were looking for. So I thought the dad and the mom and EJ just did their research, did their homework on what the landscape of college recruiting is right now. And they made a very mature decision.
He is such a mature kid as well.
Mhm.
Like even on the court, how he played,
Mhm.
just, just different, just a different kid, almost like he was born to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
His freshman year, man, he made some big time shots for it. I think Matt, I think in our game in the double overtime game, I think he hit 2 threes. I want to say late third quarter, early fourth quarter,
Oh
and
yeah, we were up by 11, and he was a catalyst and actually caught you guys up and gave you the lead, I think, down the stretch as a
yeah,
freshman. I mean,
yeah,
big time player.
yeah, and a gym rat, I mean, Matt could tell you at Ignatius and here at St. Pat's. I mean, kids that are gym rats do great in both of our basketball programs. And he was the gym rattiest. He was the biggest gym rat that we've had. One of the biggest gym rats that we've had.
Matt Monroe, I want to know why I should send my son to St. Pat's. And then I'm going to ask Bailey why I should send my son to Iggy.
Yeah, that's I think an easy question to answer. I mean, you could talk about a lot of different things. You could talk about the fact that it's the oldest all boys Catholic school in the city. I mean, it was built and opened during the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln was president, so there's a lot of tradition, a lot of history there. You could talk about the various academic programs that they offer students of all different learning styles and learning needs. And then when it comes to basketball, obviously the wins and the success and kids playing in college, I mean, all those things are really important. But I think the thing that I would say is the most important thing about going to St. Pat's would be twofold. Number one, when you go to St. Pat's, it's a brotherhood. A lot of high schools you go to for 4 years, you graduate, you call it a day, you never return. Maybe you go to that 20th year reunion to kind of show off the nice job you got, but that's about it. At St. Pat's, it's a family, it's a brotherhood. And it means something. If you're a St. Pat's guy, you're a St. Pat's guy for life. Whether you went there for 4 years or you coached or you taught there, I mean, you're a part of that family forever. Some of my closest friends are all from St. Pat, so that brotherhood I think stands out the most. But in terms of like going there and being a basketball player and a student, there's no one better to play for than Coach Bailey. You're going to get a basketball, clinic every single day. It's going to be a great learning experience. But most importantly, Coach Bailey's always going to have your best interest in mind. He's going to push you sometimes when you don't want to be pushed. He's going to care for you when you need it, and he's going to invest in you every single moment. And he's going to be loyal to you from beginning till end. And he's the type of guy that if I had kids, I would want them to play for him, like no doubt in the world, because they wouldn't just be better basketball players. Most importantly, they're going to be better men for it. And I think that's the biggest selling point at St. Pat's. We used to always say, you come in as a ninth grade boy and you leave as a man. Same thing happens with us coaches who came in young and ended up leaving to become head coaches later on. That's the same education we got. So that investment in you as a person, I think is the biggest separator for them.
Bailey, why should I send my kid to Iggy's? I mean, it's super expensive. My wife would have to get another
Yeah.
job, but
So Matt has a little bit more insights into St. Pat's because he taught here and coached here than maybe I have of the inner workings of St. Ignatius. But I would tell you, being around Catholic schools and being around Ignatius, especially since Matt's been there, I just think this. I think Ignatius, obviously top-notch academics, okay, top-notch teacher, top-notch academics there. You can't beat the education there at St. Ignatius. But the other thing I liked about Ignatius always was, and I think when Matt was going for the job and we were talking about it a little bit, I said, you know what? They have great diversity there. They get kids from everywhere in the Chicagoland area. All right. And I think that's something that's to me, if I was a parent, that would be a major selling point. All right. There's going to be all types of nationalities. There's going to be kids from all different types of neighborhoods. And that's what the real world is like. The real world is made up. Like for example, here at St. Pat's, you know what? We have some guys here that have never gone to school with an African-American student. We have some African-American students that have never gone to school, okay, with a white person, okay, till they come to St. Pat's. And I think it's really striking at St. Ignatius when I'm around that building and around those people, just how they're so welcoming to everybody. All right. And I think the other thing when it comes on the basketball side, right? Obviously the academics speaks for itself at Ignatius, but I think on the basketball side, getting to know Matt's staff, okay, they're a lot like Matt, okay, just good guys, basketball junkies, guys that look out for, they care more about their players as people than they do as basketball players. I think one of the things I've heard Matt say numerous times is, we first meet you through basketball, but if all we're doing is teaching you how to play basketball, by the time you're done here in 4 years, we haven't done our job. Okay, so I think the one thing up and down the line with his staff that I've noticed is these guys really care about their players. So I think when you add in, the academics, the way the success that they've had, the way that they care about their players as people first, as opposed to just basketball players, and the diversity that they have in their school, I think those are just some, right off the top of my head, some great selling points about St. Ignatius.
You guys did a shitty job. I'm sending him to DePaul Prep.
There you go. There you go.
All right, we're gonna wrap up, but without mention, we have to mention something. And if you saw me looking down, I was scrolling through my phone to find it. If people do not know this, Coach Bailey is at 680 wins right now. He is 20 away from his 700th win. That is unbelievable. That is unreal. That is a lot of shaking hands a winner. I will say that. Coach, what do you think you're most memorable out of all those wins? If it's more than one, that's okay.
Boy, I tell you, Aaron, and you know this, anytime we play Notre Dame and we're able to win, it's a big game. It's a big game for us. It's just one of the great rivalries, I think, in high school sports in the state of Illinois. The passion that both schools have for their school, for their basketball programs, the atmosphere in the gyms, it's second to none. So, there's been so many great games, close games with those guys right there. But I would tell you this, without trying to sound, soppy and all that, was just being named the head basketball coach at St. Pat's. So, Aaron, I don't know if some of the people are aware of this. At St. Pat's, we've only had 2 head basketball coaches for the last 67 years. Coach Curlin was the head coach here for 35 years. When he retired, he was the 7th all-time winningest coach in state history. Right. So, and they put out a pretty exhaustive search because Coach Curlin meant so much to our school, to the basketball community, in the state of Illinois. He was the epitome of St. Patrick High School. So being with having all these great players that we've been able to have, and some big games and big wins and all that, to be honest with you, Aaron, the highlight of my coaching career has been being the guy named. I know this kind of sounds a little soapy right here, but being the guy that named to follow up Coach Curlin. I never replaced Coach Curlin, but follow Coach Curlin. So again, I don't think there's been too many high schools that have had 2 head basketball coaches through 67 years. And I think in those 67 years, we've only had 3 or 4 losing seasons, with Coach Curlin having 2 or 3 of those. So no, I'm just teasing, Coach. But basketball is important here. Basketball is important here. It's not the most important thing. Obviously, your faith-based education, your academics, but it's nice to be at a school where basketball is important. I'm not even saying we're the most important sport. Every sport's important for us right here. But when you think of St. Pat's, I think because of Coach Curlin, when you think of St. Pat's, one of the first things you think about is they've always got a good basketball team.
I'm going to wrap up with this. I started in CPS coaching at Lincoln Latino in 07. Okay. Bailey, you don't age. Like, how is this possible, bro? Like, you look exactly the same.
Yeah. Well, it's that getting that gray hair at an early age that makes you look like you haven't aged too much. So, yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah. You got to stay with the
gentlemen. I have.
You got Aaron.
Well,
if you're going to stay
Matt,
up with you got to stay up with these guys. You gotta think young. So
I kind of look like Michael Jordan, right?
You do,
right?
You do.
I do. I mean, I'm Black Jesus. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up because I'm going to go to Costco and get a hot dog. Yes, $1.50. But you do not know how appreciative I am of your time. I love this stuff so much. You have no idea. People ask me, do I get bored? Absolutely not. And I'm bringing my son to practice. You guys don't have a choice.
You're welcome.
You just let us know when you're
Bring
in
it
for
in.
sure. Yep.
I'm bringing him, and you guys better run his ass.
There you go.
As long as we get to go to Taylor Street after, I'm good.
I'm in. I'm in. All right, gentlemen, you have a great day, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much.
That was a
Thanks,
lot of
Aaron.
fun.
Yeah. Yep. It was great. Thank you, man.
All right. Bye, guys.